All right, and we're back. Life is cyclical, time is a flat circle, and we are ending exactly where we started with my buddy, comedian Seamus Millar. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me back. I'm very happy to no pun intended, bookend this this fucking shit, man.
You piece of fucking shit.
No, but I am excited.
Podcast over. Yeah.
I was excited because I listened to the episodes you did after me, and the part that if you go back and listen to my episode, listeners, the part that I was alluding to was the fucking Johnny Walker ripping the cat's hearts out.
Yep.
Fucking, I was like, when you get to this scene, you'll know, you'll know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
that was fun to watch that happen. You know?
That was really gnarly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to be honest, even after finishing the book, not entirely sure if I get it. I'm probably going to read down a bunch of analyses to see what exactly was what there. But I mean, I enjoyed the fucking ride.
I'm not sure if he gets it, to be honest with you, because I mentioned I read another one of his books this year. I read the Wind Up Bird Chronicle, and I feel
Mm.
like he has this pattern of here's this really uncomfortable sex scene followed by just the most horrific, violent act you've ever read or heard about.
Hmm.
And he like it's a consistent thing with him where he's like, all right, these are my things. I love pussy and blood.
You got to respect a man who knows what he likes.
Knows what he likes.
Give him that. Before we get too far, where we can find you on social media? What do you have to plug coming up?
Sure. So Shambles Murph is my Instagram. Please come follow me. That's all I'm really gonna plug. I mean, I have a Twitter account at a cool million. But don't worry about that.
I'll stop tagging that one.
Yeah. Well, I just don't use it that often. But I don't know. I don't. It sucks, man. Had you
Wait,
asked me,
I do like. Haven't you like just tried hitting people up, like celebrities up for money on there?
that's what my Twitter account is just a fake. It's just a dumb guy who's trying to get money to impress his dad, and I like tweet at fucking assholes, and they don't want to give up their money. They're too busy fucking being the worst. I don't know, watching the Oscars and eating Ben and Jerry's and telling me how I'm a fucking asshole. Fuck them
Ugh,
motherfuckers.
fucking snobs.
I woke I woke up from a nap and I was like, Ben and Jerry's are definitely pedophiles, right? They got something going on. Nobody puts that much shit in ice cream unless they're hiding something. No, I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah, if you had asked me a week ago, I would have had a lot of stuff coming up. But right now, I'm just back to reading books. I started reading 100 Years of Solitude,
Okay.
and that's where I'm at right now.
Nice. I will actually be. I'm using it as a leverage for my fucking laptop right now. But now that I've finished this book and I'm going on my honeymoon, I will be bringing The Living Dead, which is George Romero from the Living Dead films wanted to make a big book and then died before it was finished, and then they hired some other asshole to finish it. I've heard it's okay. I'm willing to check it out.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I remember there was like a period like it was like 2000. I want to say like 2003 to 2007 or 8 where like zombies were the fucking thing, man. Like that's
Hmm.
all it was. Like The Walking Dead's great. I love George Romero shit. I do remember some of the later films that he put out, or I guess they might have just slapped his name on it. I don't remember. When did he die? Do you know?
I think he died like 2011,
Okay.
2012. But it was also like the span got quicker and quicker because it was like Night of the Living Dead in 69, 10 years later, 79, Dawn of the Dead, 6 years later, 85, Day of the Dead. And then it was 20 years until Land of the Dead. And then he had like three come out in
Yeah.
5 years, and they were all
Yeah,
terrible.
they were. He really started phoning it in. I remember I went to see Land of the Dead in the theaters, and at the end they're just like, "Zombies need a place to live too," and I was like, "That sucks. This
Yeah.
sucks."
I didn't like that message at all. Not even a
Yeah,
little.
yeah. I made my sister watch when she was like 8 years old. I made her watch the original Night of the Living Dead. She still hasn't forgiven me, but
Nice.
yeah, the scene of the daughter fucking eating her mom really stuck with her for some reason.
Oh,
I was
my
like, it's not scary. Come on.
my favorite is in the first 5 minutes of Dawn of the Dead. There is a gruesome like head explosion shot
Yeah.
that I actually went back. I've found out since they literally just like filled up a fucking balloon, painted it to look like a dude with a beard, and then literally shot it with a shotgun.
That's
And it's
awesome.
beautiful. Just
That's
mwah.
awesome. Yeah, I bet all of those movies are probably really fun to make and be like in.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I also can't hold too much of a grudge against him for like making those cheap ones later in the day because you know what happened with the copyrighted Night of the Living Dead, right?
It's like public domain, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they
so he's like
fucked
making up
up.
for a long time or making up for lost time, baby.
Yeah, they fucked up. They used a title card for the movie that like, we don't like that. Let's try let's try a different one. They put up a different one, and they didn't put the fucking copyright symbol on it. So it pretty much the only money he's made off of that was like the kindness of strangers, like Night of the
Yeah.
Living Dead fans. He has no legal right to it.
Well, so good for him. He fucking cashed in before he died. He was like, "I'll give you
Exactly.
zombies. You fucking idiots want zombies."
Oh, okay. Well, let's dive into this, the final chunk of Kafka on the Shore. Much like last time, I sent you the questions in advance, but I just wrapped up these notes like 20 minutes ago. So you're just
That's
going to have
fine.
to trust me.
I'll fly by the seat of my pants. I want to ask you before we really get started because I was super interested because uh, I just want to know what you thought in general about this. Like, have you enjoyed? Because like the thing is, I found this book really enjoyable, but I also understand why. I think people either really love him or I think he's polarizing. I would say.
I absolutely want to check out more of him.
Yeah.
I like a lot of what he's going for. I actually looked up what some of the differences were in the translation. So there's like a Reddit thread. You can find people who are like native Japanese speakers but speak English and have read it in both. So it was cool getting a lot of those perspectives.
Was there anything that stuck out? Because I was curious about that too. Because I think that was the first book I had read that had been translated from a different language, and I was
Really?
curious, like, well, I haven't been that big of a reader, so it's the
True.
first time I came across something where it was like a translation, and I was like, I wonder what is lost basically through this process. Like, how much of this is artistic liberties being taken by the translator?
Yeah, you're never entirely sure. I'm pretty sure one of the first Russian translations I read was one of Dostoevsky's. And I have noticed every Russian translation I've ever read, it's very, very long winded, which
Yeah.
you don't know if that's a translation or that's just how Russian people are. The few French translations I've read were pretty smooth. I don't, it's also hard to say just because Japan has been so influenced by Western culture.
Oh God,
So
yeah.
you can't even really say it's just that. Like maybe if it was a book from China, but I mean, this book was written fucking 50 years into the US occupation of Japan, basically.
It's insane that you could think like you could fucking show like my grandfather like, hey, you guys are gonna bomb these guys. Well, check out anime. This is what you create. This is what you end up. Actually, you know what? You end up creating Nintendo, and actually Nintendo was around, but you fucking I don't know.
I forget which
Weeb shit.
I forget which comedian made the joke, but he did say like I can't wait for 50 years after Iraq until when like dorks are really into Iraqi animation and
Oh,
your
that's awesome.
your
Yeah.
friend jerks off to Iraqi women and fetishizes them.
That's hilarious, dude. Yeah, it's so fucking strange how that culture quickly shifted from sort of a military powerhouse to sort of I don't know what is their. I feel like they're almost a cultural exporter now. But that might
Yeah,
just be
well,
me
I
as a
mean,
perception.
they really established dominance again when they got into electronics. So it was like the 80s
Yeah,
and 90s. That's when they really got ahead of us. Um, yeah, I don't know. I find Japan very fascinating. I would
it's
love to visit.
yeah, I would too. I just actually read a book called Ask Iwata, which is about the president of Nintendo that died, and it was interesting because they just have such like a the culture is just so different from what we're used to in America. Like they were talking about at this guy's funeral, his son went up and said, "My father was always very nice to me in the home." And they were like, "Well, that's how you know he was a good dad because Japanese sons don't talk openly about their fathers like that." It's like,
Mm.
what the fuck does that mean? What does that mean?
See, that's why I find so interesting where you talk about like otaku culture and shit over there. And again, this is where you get a lot of that unique, that very collectivist, like saving face culture that a lot of Asia has, but then the Western side of that it's had this whole time. So they have this whole work culture there that's always been like, get a job, work yourself to fucking death. They literally have a thing in Japan called retired husband syndrome. Do you know what retired husband syndrome is?
No.
Basically, the wife gets so used to the husband working forever and ever and ever that they stay married for like 35 years. Then, as soon as he's retired, he's around the house all the time. They almost instantly get divorced.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Well, they
And
got a lot of weird shit over there that like it just like seems to be taken for granted. Like the fucking like the businessmen just getting fucking absolutely hammered and just sleeping in the streets and like people just like
yep.
let them sleep. Let them sleep. They worked a really hard week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that all depends
It's
on
crazy.
on the boss you have. They have a culture where like if the boss wants to go out for a drink, you have to go. And if you go out drinking with the boss, you better not stop drinking until he does.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
God
it's like
bless.
a fucking drunken patriarchy. It's like my
Yeah.
family.
And that's the thing is that I think Americans nowadays too, because of the cultural exports that they have, in electronics, we sort of think of them in terms of like I think a lot of Americans, at least our age, think of like anime and like all this other shit. But meanwhile, they still kind of have this culture that they had pre World War II, where like they they were gonna fuck people up during World War II. Like they were
Oh,
regimented and ready to
they
go.
fucked
Like
up. Ask the people of Nanking. They
yeah,
fucked people up.
they were committing genocide, and it's kind of like the drinking thing though, where they were like, well, I'm not going to stop murdering until my boss does. Like, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like, and like that culture still kind of exists over there, but just it's in a different light. It's
Dude,
interesting.
they had in World War II, there were two generals who were having a contest with each other as to who could cut off the most heads. And this was like highlights in the paper every week. Like, oh, General Matsumoto got ahead with 4 more, and him like smiling with a decapitated
Yeah,
Yankee
yeah.
skull.
They got like the Harry Potter system where like they get 4 points to his house.
Oh, oof. So brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Oh, another one more weird Japaneseism. So you know the Japanese pornography, they don't show pubic hair, right?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No.
It's our fault.
Uh-oh.
So here's basically Japan's sexual mores, they were like pretty open. They were kind of like nature, if it like women could walk around topless, that sort of thing. Then we showed up and tried to put some good old fashioned American Christian shame on them, and it worked a little too much, because
Yeah.
that's why they still censor pubic hair to this day, because
Yeah,
it's
and they also like censor the dicks for some reason, which is
exactly
like I can see you're fucking somebody, but it's a censor the dick. We don't want to be improper.
exactly. I don't want to be improper while I shove eels up this young lady's anus. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, my one friend. This is just an anecdote too, but my one friend, he stayed in Japan for a while, and black guy too, so not just like a creepy white dude. I don't know why that matters. It makes it less creepy
No,
somehow.
there is the stereotype of the fucking white dude who goes over there and
Yeah,
just
the white dude is
fetishizes
like, I'm
everything.
here to party. No, but he came back and I was like, yeah, hey man, how are the women over there? And he was like, pretty good. And I was like, do they actually sound like that in bed? Do they sound like they're crying? And he was like, oh, for sure. And also, they have a fun thing, he said, where he was like, they it's like a cultural thing where they go, no, stop while you're
Ugh.
having sex with them. And so he stopped and she was like, no, I didn't mean no stop. I meant like no stop. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. So maybe that was
Yeah.
just that woman. Who knows? There's some weird shit going on in Japan.
A little bit like red light, green light. Just like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
God. Okay. Let's get into this fucking book. Chapter 41. As Kafka heads deeper into the woods, he marks each tree with some paint, leaving a trail, feeling like he's being watched. He thinks about the soldiers practicing in the forest before World War II. Kafka's mind wanders back to Sakura and the night before. Again, so yeah, we just had a dream rape scene
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
before this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The
Which,
hottest kind of jury. I don't know.
yeah,
Fucking
I don't think I've ever.
not real kind.
Everybody in my dreams is consenting, because in my never mind, I'm not going to finish that sentence.
Oh no, I'm with you, man. Occasionally I have some dreams where I'm like not the consenting party and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's oh god. You ever had like a sex dream of something you were like not attracted to at all? So but you can't. Then you have that moment you realize it's a dream, and you're like, then why the fuck am I thinking this? I don't want this.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it's probably because on some deep level you do, Jesse. On some deep level,
I don't
that's
think. I don't think on some deep level I want to have anal sex with my cousin.
I think you do.
Look, you leave cousin Frank out of this, okay? It's
I'm just saying, text him. see what he's into.
So, Frank, you ever have any weird dreams about me? Just,
yeah, he's like,
just
"No,
checking.
I have this weird dream where you're fucking me in the ass.
No. I was the top. I was the top.
Oh.
Come on now.
Christ. That's hilarious, man.
I guess it's because he's older than me, and I always felt like he outranked me in the family.
Yeah. He's probably got a good job.
He does. He has a much better job than me.
There
And
you
so maybe somewhere in my subconscious, it was like, no, I deserve grandma's kisses first. So. Oh, Jesus. Fucking okay.
So there's this dream rape scene. where he fucking rapes her or whatever.
Right, where he fucks his sister, who again, I'm still not crystal clear on it seems like everybody the incest in this seems to be like spiritual incest.
Yeah,
Like
he
something
kind of.
happened when this stone got opened years and years ago, and a whole bunch of people got mishmashed in there spiritually,
Right.
and now everybody's each other's sister
Yeah.
or aunt.
Yeah. That's what happened with Thanos too when he snapped a bunch of fucking in-laws started fucking each other and the fucking bunch
Oh
of
wow.
fucking cousin loving happened. No, I'm just kidding. That's
I've been missing out on these Marvel movies. I
yeah,
didn't
dude,
realize I
it's
got
they're
there.
hot. They're hot. But yeah, no, there's definitely like spiritual incest and like they kind of leave a lot of it ambiguous as to like is she actually his sister or
Right.
what's going on here.
I will say before the end of this book, I was really wondering like where the fuck does Oshima fit into any of this? But I mean we can get to that. We can get to that.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Again, oh yeah, Kafka wanders back to Sakura and the night before. Again, he thinks that if he's already killed his father and had sex with his mother, he has to fulfill the prophecy by sleeping with his sister so he can be free of the omen. Because if you're gonna have to, you might as well get it over with.
Yeah.
Uh, Crow, walking behind him, says that he shouldn't have raped Sakura even in a dream. Cockblock. Crow says that even if Kafka completes the parts of the prophecy, it will still be inside him, inside his DNA, his breath, and confusion will be inside of him. Crow says Kafka has to face the fear and anger inside him and melt the coldness in his heart, and then he really will be the toughest 15-year-old in the world. He can reclaim himself. Kafka feels lost in a labyrinth, feels hollow, like there's nothing that makes him real. Crow has vanished, and Kafka wants to disappear as well. He thinks the only way to escape the prophecy is to die. He tosses away his survival and navigation gear and heads into the streets. So that's all I have for that section. Seamus, what were you like at 15? Were you the toughest 15-year-old in the world?
Oh Jesus Christ! No, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, like, cause uh, I don't know, man. I was pretty lost in the sauce, cause like I had a kind of a troubled childhood that I won't like get into all the details here, but I'll tell you off mic. But
Okay.
there was I've always felt stunted because there was a thing that like right before grade school, uh, I I don't know, man. It was rough, and I felt like I was figuring out social shit for the first time, which is probably not a
Mm.
unique experience for high school people, but it was like I didn't go through the I basically went from like grade school to high school. I didn't have the middle school experience where you're sort of figuring and ironing these things out.
Mm-hmm.
Where like, you're like, well, I've never had a girlfriend, but I've kissed somebody. I said, I don't know, man. It was just weird. Like I didn't have a really, my first relationship was when I was 18 and I was in college. So it was just like it felt like the 4 years of high school were me just like making up for lost time basically. That
Mm.
sounds so sad for a fucking 15-year-old to be feeling that, but that's how I felt at the time.
No, I had a little bit of the same thing. My mom was very protective of me, much to my not goodness. My words are not coming to me right now. It's hot in
No,
this
I hear
room,
you. It's hot in
but
here too. Yeah.
yeah. But I didn't make any friends until I was like 13 because my mom sent me to like a school on the other side of town. So all right, whatever, let's get into this. My mom's, despite the fact that I lived a block away from an elementary school, our toothless shithead neighbors said that was the N-word school.
Oh
So
Jesus.
so my mom used my dad's address and sent me to school on the other side of town. Except, by the way, you're not allowed to leave the yard. So like I would talk to kids in school and then just never see them because I didn't live near them.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. So like I went to I went to a school that my mom taught at from kindergarten to 8th grade, which was super weird because you don't really get to grow as a person when your mom is in the building at all
Yeah.
times. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I felt like high school was that like where it was almost like I was kind of attached at the hip to my mom till I was like 14, and then like 14, 15, it was finally like, oh, I can go outside by myself. Like that was like a fucking
Hmm.
revelation. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
Yeah,
So
you need a little bit of like
you need some
freedom
space.
before
Yeah.
that.
But her whole thing was she's like, I don't know. It's so weird. I get these weird apologies from my family now that I'm like 30, where my mom was like, I was just afraid you were going to leave me. Like my dad also like apologized on a side note. He like apologized to me the other day for like getting circumcised. He was like, I shouldn't have done that to you. I was like, what? Give me an awesome dick? What's the problem?
Oh, he regrets maiming your little pecker. I'm anti-circumcision, so I'm all about that.
Well, what's done is done, dude, and I'm glad because look, the amount of times, like, I'm not a great toothbrusher. I've been getting better lately because I found a program on on my phone that fucking tells you which side of the tooth to fucking brush at specific times. But like, if I had to clean my dick, like it'd be a nightmare.
There is that point. I'm not incredibly hygienic. As a matter of, I remember with COVID when my fucking fiance kept me every time I left the house and came back, she would ask me to wash my hands, and I felt like a petulant child every fucking time. Just, I don't need to wash my fucking hands. I only petted a few dogs and pushed a guy or something. I feel like at 15, God, I've been thinking about this lately. I was just so fucking lonely. I don't know what it was, but from like a young age, from like 8 years old, it was just like, I like girls and they don't like me. That was always just the story of my life. I don't know why. I remember, this fucking hurts. Like being 8 years old, and there was a girl I really liked, and clearly I enjoyed movies too much because I thought big romantic gestures would work on a fucking prepubescent. I sang the Aerosmith song Angel to her, and oh boy, the pointing and the laughing on the schoolyard. I shouldn't have done that at recess. I should have gone somewhere a little more private.
Well, yeah, and the other thing too is like I saw my dad every other weekend, but I basically just grew up with my mom like for the majority of the time. And so like that was the other thing too, is when it came to women is, how do I get girls? My mom's just like, just be yourself, be nice. Be a nice guy.
Moms are the fucking worst at telling you how to get it.
Yeah, because they're telling you what women. All right, this is gonna sound bad. My mom was telling me what women think they want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They think they want a really nice guy.
I do have a theory that once women have children, they forget what it was like. They forget their past.
Yeah. They're like, oh, he was really nice, but he also did that thing where he like negged me for like fucking 3 weeks until, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, dude, all right. We're gonna get a little sexist here. I forget who the fuck I was talking with about, but I was talking about this guy who's like kind of a scumbag, is always trying to like bang every fucking girl he meets. And I remember talking to this girl who was like, nah, I'm not falling for that shit. So we just fooled around once, and then I didn't talk to him again. Like, yeah, you sure showed him giving the only thing he wanted out of you. Good fucking job.
Exactly. Yeah, you won. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like,
but that always bummed me out when I heard that. Like, oh yeah. Well, this guy negged me and he was a piece of shit, and that's why I only dated him for 6 months and sucked his cock every day, and then I got away. Like, oh well, fuck you for waiting that long.
Well, yeah. I mean, it might be a controversial thing to say now, but I think that men and women have different motivations, and women don't necessarily understand men's motivations, and men don't necessarily understand women's motivations.
Yeah.
But literally, sex is winning for guys. Like,
yes, yes, it is. And you know what the fuck the thing was? So I only saw my dad on weekends, but like we talked all the time, and he didn't live that far away. I could see him whenever I wanted. And his whole thing, he didn't understand, like, why do you want to date any of them? Why aren't you just fucking all of them? And pretty well, what I realize now is my dad didn't have standards, and he did just fuck everybody. But it was like, I want the pretty girls. Yeah, I want the one rocker chick in my school at 2002.
Yeah. I remember when I was in college and I was dating this girl, my grandmother told me, she was like, I think you're too young to be tied down. And I was like, fuck you, grandma. But like, she was
fuck you, grandma. We're in love.
There was no reason for me to be 21 and in a relationship. It's fucking anyway. Yeah. So how was I at 15? Sad boy status, dude, for sure. 100%.
Hell yeah. Right at the peak of emo. It was a good time to be a sad boy.
Oh, it was just like, when dogs chase cars, I would chase these girls. And then looking back on it too, there was a bunch of them that were like, I'm ready for this to happen. And I would just be like, I don't know what to do.
Faltering at the go ahead is such a pain. Okay.
Yeah, it's the worst.
All right. Chapter 42. Nakata takes a seat in Miss Saiki's office. Miss Saiki asks if Hoshino is Nakata's friend, and he says that he is. The first friend Nakata has ever had besides cats. Miss Saiki says she hasn't had friends for some time either, except in memories. She feels that memories are consuming her. Holding on to memories has tormented her, yet she can't let go. Dude, meanwhile,
consuming her.
Yeah.
Consuming that pussy, dude. Anyway, sorry.
Right. Meanwhile, Nakata has a mean wheel. Meanwhile, Nakata says he has no memories at all. Miss Saiki says that she knows about the entrance stone, and that in fact she opened the entrance herself many years ago to try to hold on to her boyfriend. I wish I had actually seen a scene of that in the book. I know it doesn't work with the back and forth narrative between Nakata and Kafka, but I think some hint of what happened there
If they
What
have like
it
one off chapter where it's like from her perspective.
yeah, if it was actually shown and not alluded to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of a little bit confusing, but I mean,
And
as
keep
far as this book goes, probably not the most confusing
as
thing.
somebody who started this podcast on Infinite Jest, I have such a higher tolerance for books that leave things a little open ended because that whole fucking book is open ended,
Right.
and not in a good way. It's in a I'm going to explain a little bit of this, and then you go fucking jerk off on a forum board forever trying to guess what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas this, it's like I know what happened. I just need to figure out the symbolism and whatnot.
Right, exactly.
Um, Opened the entrance many years ago to hold on to her boyfriend. Nakata says that Miss Psyche can't stay. She says that for a long time, her life has been a string of meaningless mistakes, which she's chronicled in a series of files. She gives them to Nakata, asking him to burn them. After the library closes, Oshima goes upstairs to Miss Psyche's office. She is face down on her desk, dead. Although he had been prepared for this moment, Oshima feels overwhelmed with loss. He realizes that he needs to tell Kafka, but thinks that somehow Kafka already knows. So I'm curious what happens. Like, is she just? She said before that she's just like waiting to die,
Yeah.
and I guess she gives up these memories and then can die. But
It's weird how I feel like in life there are those situations though where like especially I mean I've seen a lot of old people as they go into like old folks homes or hospices and they die within a week even though it's like they were fine two
yeah.
weeks ago but they just I think like the will to live might actually be a thing.
Oh, dude, I had a buddy whose father died of. Well, it started out as stomach cancer, but like when they found out he had it again, it was like everywhere. And pretty much after like they gave him all these treatments, like 6 months of treatments, like all right, let's go in and check it, and none of the tumors moved an inch. He was dead in a week and a half. Like he just
Yikes.
gave like I'm done fighting. Nothing worked. That's it.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Um, you know what's funny? I've been trying to. I forget where are you on the atheist afterlife scale? Do you think nothing happens?
So I was an atheist when I was in like sixth grade. I was a hardcore atheist all the way through grade school, and then
Well, yeah, whatever you are in grade school, you're a hardcore whatever. You're a
right,
hardcore Pokemon trainer.
right, yeah. And now I meditate twice a day. I don't know, man. I started listening to like Alan Watts and Ram Dass and all this shit in college, and I started doing drugs, and I just feel like the presumption, like it's very presumptuous of me to assume I know what the fuck's going on. I'm gonna I'm gonna bank on something and hopefully something positive. I kind of believe in reincarnation. I've always believed in reincarnation,
Fingers
to a
crossed.
certain extent, right? But that's also but even if that exists in my understanding, it's still got some horror to it because the ego still dies,
Mm.
the personality dies. Like even if reincarnation exists, it's not like if it exists and we've both done it a bunch of fucking times, neither of us remember. So there's that like
Oh,
there's like
you know, one of the things that one of my theories on the memory, again, this is nothing but this is no belief. This is all just hope in reincarnation.
yeah
Is and it's like, well, why don't you remember your past life? Like, well, if you really think about it, how many days of this life do you actually remember?
yeah. Well, I've actually had it kind of put that way. I There's this guy Sadhguru. People probably heard of him. I read a book about his called Death, and he basically like was explaining, in quotation marks, whatever you want to say, about like the processes of dying, and basically he was like, imagine all the horrible shit that's happened to you during this lifetime that you'll like right before you go to bed you'll think about something fucked up that happened to you when you were a kid and you can barely hold all of the memory that you have right now. So imagine if you had to hold all he was like, if you could break through and see all of your past lives, you would die immediately because you wouldn't be able to handle it. That's what he said. I was
Shit.
like, he was like, there's a mechanism in life that basically keeps you from remembering this shit because it's like a protective lens basically until you're
Mhm.
ready to handle it.
I like that aspect. Where I was going with that is I've been looking up like just death stuff lately, trying to wrap my brain around it. And I found this article by a hardcore atheist, and it's like, how to embrace oblivion like a champ, and like he meant it. And I'm like, oh man, that really meant something to me. And then I looked up the bio of this guy, like, oh, he's 24. Fuck this guy.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, like, and that's the other thing is like, I also thought I was super fucking smart and like had figured it out when I was in college, and I was like, oh, this is it. Like all this
You,
Ramdas
you
shit.
you feel like you can logic your way into shit, like
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
explain it that way.
But then like especially during quarantine, I've come to terms with like how my mind works and how all of the patterns and shit that I've been working off of for like 30 years, and it's like, so it's like every year I used to think I was really nice and I used to think I was really smart. and every year I think I'm less smart and I'm a lot less nice. Like I like not that I've changed at all, but I'm just like, oh, you've actually kind of been an asshole and you've kind of been dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You
I get
just
that.
thought you were awesome.
I feel like I am a kind person, but when I find somebody who I think deserves negativity, I am gleeful
Oh
in
yeah, like
hurting
yeah,
them.
it's so hard. It's so hard to not be like, you hurt me. Well, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for me to become a monster. Yeah, it's very,
Yeah.
it's a tempting thing.
Yeah. Oh, but one more thing on the atheism. So like we pulled the plug on my stepdad. I got to watch him die.
Yeah,
And this is the weird thing because I felt I was
you actually
watching.
told me this when this happened.
Oh
You told
yeah,
me this on Boat Mike. Yeah,
dude, I felt like I was watching a man's soul leave his body, and it was a huge spiritual moment. But here's the thing, it didn't affect how I feel in like the day to day.
hmm
Like if I go back and I think to that memory, I'm like, I watched proof that there's something after this. I watched a man's soul leave his body. But then I just won't think of that when I freak out about death. Because
right.
I still feel no connection to the universe myself. So
Yeah, yeah, it comes in waves for me. Like it'll come like every couple of years, like, and then it's so frustrating because you just want to get back to that part where it's like, I don't think I ever. I went to the dentist the other day and he was like, "Do you grind? Are you grinding your teeth?" And apparently, I've been grinding my teeth for years. I didn't
hmm,
realize it because I just hold so much tension in my face. I never actually fucking relax. Even when
mm-hmm,
I'm like on vacation or relaxing, I'm constantly worried about this thing or that thing or whatever the fuck. And so like, but there's been a few moments in time where I've almost like it done some meditation stuff and like broken the system. It feels like where I've been like, this is actually what relaxation is. This is actually how you're supposed to be functioning. And
hmm,
then it goes away because you snap back into that pattern and it's like, no, no. And then you have this fucking anxiety about
mm,
like, I want to get back to the place where I felt where I felt good, but I wasn't there because it's like an ego. There's a
right.
ego still
That
exists, but
wasn't
there's like
you feel you were
it's
feeling the
dimmer
you were feeling your ego release itself a little
a
bit.
little bit. Yeah, not even all the way, just a little bit for me to be like, fuck,
Yeah.
yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
Yeah, you know it's a great thing for anybody who is worried about death. Go watch Kevin Smith on the Joe Rogan podcast. It's not what you think if you hate Joe Rogan. Kevin Smith's mother like died on the table during a heart operation and then like came back, and he basically recounts her story saying like I was like flat on my back and just moving in some direction, and then before I knew it I was back and I was alive again, but I was somewhere. And he asked his mom, like, well, having seen both of them, which do you, and she said, like, there. I was there for
that's it.
3 fucking seconds. I felt free in a way that I cannot describe. And if that's what's waiting me after this, I can't wait to get there.
You know what I'll do if that ever happens to me? If I ever, if I come back after seeing some like paradise, I'll just convert to a random religion to fuck with people. I'll be like, it's definitely this. It's definitely this.
Scientology knew it this whole time.
Yeah,
Xenu.
yeah. Xenu was there. He saw me at the gate. Yeah.
Get some weird blizzard combination of like voodoo and fucking Islam.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Some random shit. I turned into a black Israelite, actually.
Yes, dude. Okay, this will be the last anecdote. We can go back with it. Me and Neil are in Atlantic City for my bachelor party. We're walking down like a couple of assholes. We're walking on the boardwalk in suits to go to a fucking steakhouse, and there's a group of black Israelites on the boardwalk just yelling at us. And one of them says, "Like, you tell me." I'm not gonna do the voice. You tell me, white boy. You tell me, white boy. How do you make America great again? And just being comic, I just go like less white people, and he's like, yeah, it's like they were like very like, wait, are we?
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's how you. Yeah, that you know what you took a little chip out of his armor, and now you de-radicalized that guy.
he went and apologized to his adopted white parents
Yeah,
the next day.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, chapter 43. These summaries get smaller as we go. Kafka has the feeling that the forest is a part of him, and he's actually that's part of the problem with these fucking notes is it's so few of it is action, and so much is like Kafka feels deep inside him the
Right.
spiraling of his spirit. He's actually journeying deeper into himself. He thinks about his cruel father dying in the empty house. He thinks about his mother and her pussy, and wonders why she didn't love him. He remembers his mother leaving and thinks that if she is Miss Psyche, he can't understand why she would do that. Kafka feels himself turn into a black crow. Crow tells Kafka that his mother did love him and that by forgiving her or moving on, Kafka has the power to repair himself. He believes that his mother, possibly Miss Psyche, was scared and angry when she left, but he can't figure out why. As he thinks about it more, he grows more and more confused. Why is love so painful? Two World War II soldiers appear. They tell Kafka they're soldiers who wandered off during training. They hope to avoid killing or being killed and have been hiding in the woods ever since. They tell them that they're guarding the entrance, which is temporarily open, and follows them down the path. Seamus, Kafka's spirit animal, fucking cars. Kafka's spirit animal is a crow. What is yours?
Ooh, you know what? I don't really know, to be honest with you. That's a tough question. I think when I was a kid, I mean, I'm just basing off of what I wanted to be. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a poison tree frog. I always thought those things looked so fucking cool.
You could stick your tongue out and get high on yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Nowadays, I don't know, man. I think my spirit animal. I don't know. I feel like everybody says like when you ask the question of like what animal do you want to be, that's the same question. Like, what's your spirit animal? Like, what animal do you want to be? And I feel like a lot of the times when you
the difference between the two is spirit animal now is the only correct answer to what your spirit animal is you are appropriating that from Native Americans. You are a bad white person. You.
Yeah. Well, I will say. Well, I'll tell you this. The only weird like
which is funny because my spirit animal is a Native American. So I don't know.
Well, that covers it all, man. Yeah.
A snake eating its own tail.
Yeah, my fucking spirit animal is a skinwalker or whatever the fuck. Or what are those things called? Where the Native American
like a chupacabra.
Where they could switch, they could turn into an animal, right? Is that the skinwalker?
There's a few. I know Yanaglachi is one of the names. Yeah. That's like their werewolf.
Oh yeah, something like that. I don't know, man. That's a tough question. Probably like, oh, you know what I really like actually? It's not even it's an insect. I really like what the fuck are those things called? Jesus Christ. Oh, hold on one second. Let me look. Atlas moths. Have you ever heard of Atlas moths?
Oh yeah.
Dude, they're so fucking cool. They've through evolution, they've developed this thing where they all have this pattern of snake heads on their back. That's so crazy to me that just think that like over the course of millions of years, the ones that looked more like snakes just survived to the point where this fucking thing exists. It's almost like when people are like, your phones are listening to you, and then you find out that the algorithm is so fucking good that they're not actually listening to you necessarily. They know what the fuck you want, like before you even know it. And it's the same thing where it's like they have these fucking snakes on their wings, and they're beautiful, they're gigantic, and they only live for a fucking week. It's crazy to me. They only live for a week.
Animals with short lifespans have always fascinated me ever since I first heard of that.
They just come, they fuck, they're here for, I'm here for a good time, not a long time, baby. And then they fucking go out. It's great.
Exactly. Live like a mayfly. Go out, get laid, die.
Yeah. I had this lady at work. We had this conversation recently, like, what animal would you want to be? And she was like, I'd want to be a tortoise so I could live to be like 200 years old. And I was like, but what if those 200 years suck?
Yeah.
Because like, or like she also said a house cat. And I was like, I'm getting a whole psychological profile of you right now where you're like, you're very worried about comfort and you want it to go on forever, but that's not
like, this all sounds
guaranteed, baby.
Yeah, this all sounds like you're just trying to be lazy. You could be lazy, you don't need to do that. So just because I will be using the video for this would be the Atlas moth.
Yes.
You can see the fucking
snakes. The snakes on their wings are so nuts to me.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Beautiful. Yeah. I had a real freak out moment where I went to the museum, the Academy of Natural Sciences, and they had a bunch of those, and it was like an out of body experience. I was like, I love these things. I don't know why. I just found out about them 5 minutes ago. These are my favorite fucking things. It's crazy.
It's awesome.
So yeah, man. Atlas moth. Why? What would you do?
I don't know. I'd probably be like a fox. I wouldn't want to be anything that flies because I fucking hate flying. But I feel like foxes are crafty. They're intelligent. You always think they're a dog when you see them. You kind of have to look at them and figure out they're a fox.
Yeah, I was gonna say that actually because one time I was in the woods by myself and this fucking, I guess it was a fox, but it came out of the woods and it looked like a fucking giant dog. And I was like, I was the only one down there, and I saw it, and it like looked at me, and I was like, this thing is gonna tear my ass up. It's humongous. And I swear to God, I said to somebody, I was like, I saw like a fucking, it looked like a fucking lion, dude. It was huge. I thought I was tripping.
It's hilarious. All right, chapter 44. Nakata says he has to take a nap, but afterwards they'll be able to close the entrance stone. On the drive back to the apartment, Hoshino thanks Nakata for changing his perspective. In the last few days, he's had more new experiences than his entire life before, and he feels like he looks at the world through Nakata's eyes now. But Nakata doesn't hear as he's already fallen asleep. The next day, Nakata dies in his sleep, which first off surprised me, but it's funny that this follows the trope so to the letter. I'm watching Game of Thrones for the first time, and I've seen this in other shows, but the one thing, anytime if it's Lost, if it's Walking Dead, if it's Game of Thrones, if anybody expresses appreciation towards somebody else, they're getting a fucking knife to the throat in 3 seconds.
Yeah, well, yeah, they finished their arc. They're like, oh, you know what?
Mhm.
Let me just iron out all of these interesting qualities, and they're like, well, you're dead. You're
Yeah.
fucking dead.
It's like, now that I think about it, I think my turmoil is done and I'm finally at peace. What's that laser on my forehead?
Right. It's get hit by a bus or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But oh, good.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say I didn't realize this when I read the book, but it does the Miss Saiki thing, and then this happens pretty close together. One chapter
Same,
apart.
same day. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
she gives up her memories, and then he who has no memories destroys her memories, and then he's gone too.
Yeah.
But I guess the comment with both of them is these are both people who were Miss Saiki has been ready to die, has been living like she was dead for a very long time, and it's only when she lets go of her past that she can be dead.
Right.
Nakata really has no past, and I guess having done this, he's good. I don't know where the spirit of Nakata went. Part of me thinks it's Kafka, like the half of him that got pulled away on Rice Bowl Hill. Like maybe that became Kafka because obviously Miss Saiki thinks that's no, Miss Saiki thinks he's the soul of the boy who died. I don't know. I don't know where the fuck the other chunk of Kafka went.
Yeah, me either.
Nakata dies in his sleep. Hoshino feels overwhelmed by the silence in the apartment. He realizes he has to close the entrance stone by himself now. If he makes a mistake, it could have dire consequences. Unsure what to do, Hoshino spends the rest of the day waiting for a sign. Which brings me to my question for this chapter. Seamus, dying in your sleep, overrated or underrated?
You know what? I think it's overrated. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it's overrated.
I agree with you, but tell me
Yeah.
why.
Well, I would like to be. So here's the thing. I think like from my understanding of death, based on what I've read. So first of all, I'll say dying in your sleep has always scared me because my grandmother, when I was a kid, she did that fucking prayer, and my mom.
My dad did the same thing.
Yes.
If I die, it immortalized in the song
Down
Enter
to sleep.
Sandman.
Yeah.
I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If
Right.
I shall die before I wake.
Pray to Lord my soul to take. And here's the thing, though. My mom grew up very Catholic, but she didn't raise me Catholic, so I had no context for this. And I was like 5, and my grandma just started throwing. I was like, "What the fuck is it? What the fuck are you saying to me?" Like I was like, she was like, "You have to nap," and I was like, I was convinced I was gonna fucking die.
Yep.
Like now, like I was like, is she know something I don't know? I think that's probably why I'm not a great napper.
Oh, same.
Day, yeah.
Dude, I still pretty much I never want to sleep. I'm pretty sure every night I go to sleep, I'm not waking up.
I would like to be maybe semi-conscious for death. I'm not sure. Maybe not.
Same. I want to see the light fading
I
out.
want to see what it is. Yeah, it almost seems like you kind of get robbed when you're asleep.
Mhm.
It's like you don't get the experience of like you're already in a dreamlike state. So when if you just if there is a transition, it's probably not as noticeable as if you were going from a conscious state to a death state. I don't know. That might just be fucking bullshit, but
See, like that's a part of what bums me out about my dad dying. Aside from the rest of it, which would just be my dad dying. He died fucking overdosing, mixing booze and painkillers, and then he went to bed. Where he literally, just because he was so fucked up, he probably didn't have a moment of that. He was just fucking went to bed with some fucking bar skag and just somewhere in the night. But part of the reason I think dying in your sleep is overrated is I think it's a big misnomer because you hear a lot of like, oh, he died of a heart attack in his sleep. Like, it sounds like he probably woke up. You have any idea?
Right. Yeah.
A fucking cat walking on my foot will wake me up.
Yeah,
I think my heart exploding will give me a second. Like, oh, what's that?
It was painless. It's like, yeah, it probably really sucked for a little bit there.
Yeah. No, I think his wife is just a heavy sleeper.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say no to dying in your sleep.
All right. Good. Dying in your sleep. Kill Your Gods podcast. Thumbs down.
There's no way out. There's no way out that doesn't suck. That's what people have to understand. So you kind of have to just prepare, and you can't. People who want to die in their sleep are the same people that want to be fucking house cats and want to be turtles so they can live to be 200. You're looking to fucking escape the suffering. But what if I told you that you absolutely cannot? I know that's a bummer, but like we all have to prepare for the fact that like death could potentially suck really bad. It doesn't seem like there's any way out of this that doesn't suck.
I honestly think suicide's the way to go. I think like you get really it's not great, but there is just a notion of like part of my fear of flying is just I don't know how to fucking fly. I'm trusting it to some jerk off who I probably wouldn't like.
You're saying killing yourself is like me getting on a roller coaster and being like, I finally faced my fear. Like
exactly.
Almost.
No, I don't want to give up my power. I instantly distrust the pilot. Like some cloud queer thinks he's better than me. No, not doing that. We're joking, guys. But yeah, I feel like Hunter S. Thompson went that way. I mean, I think he fucked up by doing it with his like son and grandson in the house and shooting himself.
It's like a shotgun, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he was just like. It was one of those. It was Hunter S. Thompson. There were guns around. We're lucky he didn't use.
Cool gun though. Yeah.
We're lucky he didn't use dynamite for God's sake.
Exactly.
But there is something to just being like, you know what? I'm in enough pain. I don't want to go through the decline. Like, let me just make a stiff drink and kiss Mr. Beretta.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But then you're not allowed in heaven.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, then you're at the river Styx and they won't let you across. But
all right, chapter 45. Kafka follows the soldiers down an increasingly dark and overgrown forest path. Eventually, they get to a handful of buildings and a couple of roads built on it. The soldiers take Kafka to one of the houses, where they tell Kafka he'll wait here for a while to get settled in. Someone will come and make him dinner. Sounds like a pretty nice B&B.
Yeah, he's basically getting like spirited away here.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't, but I think I get what you're talking about.
What I know about fairies and ghouls and ghosts and shit is that never eat the food.
Yep.
Apparently, if you're on the other side and you eat the food, you're stuck.
Yep. They lure you in, they make you comfortable, they give you a fucking pineapple, and then you're stuck forever.
And then you eat some of the fae folk food, and your soul's gone forever. And yeah, you're just a missing child. Your parents never know where you end up. You're in the fairyland.
That's it. Kafka falls asleep. When he awakens, it's evening, and he hears someone cooking in the kitchen. He realizes it's the 15-year-old Miss Saiki, and that she can see him. She sits down with him as he eats the meal she's prepared. She also says she doesn't have a name, and she doesn't remember the library. She doesn't remember meeting him before. Kafka explains that he thinks he's there to meet her and one other woman. As she leaves, night descends. So here's an interesting question I came up with. Seamus, would you date the 15-year-old version of your girlfriend? Not now, obviously. You would also be 15 or whatever your age difference is.
Yeah, we're pretty much close to the same age. I think that the 15-year-old version of my girlfriend was way cooler than the 15-year-old version of me. I've gotten cooler as I age because the thing is, it's like the Biggest Loser kind of where you're like you can lose the weight so fast because you're so fucking fat. Same way where like I was so uncool that like I got progressively cooler very quickly. Meanwhile, she started off from a very cool place, so I think I've gotten cooler than she has over the years. I think she's still cool. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? But she already started from a strong base level. So.
Yeah. You know how I can tell she's cool? I'm always uncomfortable saying hello to her. She always seems like she has something better to be doing, and I don't want to distract her.
Yeah, no, she's very nice, but she does have this intimidating aura that you have to like break through. I remember the first time I stayed over at her house, and like once I got into her room, I was like, oh, so you're actually like a girl. You're like a fucking you have this fucking outer persona that's terrifying.
Yeah, like even going into her room that first time, a little party, you had to be thinking like she's gonna pull out a razor and mug me any second now.
Yeah, I was like, this is gonna be like a Tim Burton set in here. This is gonna.
Yeah, dude. There's a picture my fiance has shown me a few times of she went through like a rave phase. And it's just this photo of herself with like fucking rainbow colored hair and a pacifier in her mouth and like striped leggings and a fuzzy backpack. And every time I see it, like I would fucking hate you if I knew you at that age.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is like, so when I went to school growing up, I didn't grow up around a lot of like none of my friends. I had a couple white friends, but for the most part, I was the only white kid in like school, black kids, and I just wasn't attracted to white people for a really long time. But yeah, so I like when I was 15, like white girls were just kind of like a blind spot for me. So
Mm.
I mean, that's a weird anecdote, but you know,
No,
it worked out.
it makes sense that, you know, who you grow up around, it's going to be your,
I
you
had
know.
different. It was weird because it was almost like I had different beauty standards, almost because I was like engrossed with people who were not white, and I like looked at that as beautiful, and white people I just thought of like my family. You know what I mean? So I was like, ugh, you
True.
know, yeah. So so yeah, so at that time when I was 15, I would not have probably even approached her, to be honest with you.
Okay. Chapter 46. Hoshino spends a listless day in the apartment trying to figure out what to do with the stone. I really relate to Hoshino. Like
I like him a lot.
I can't say it took a while for him to grow on me. It's just there were a few people that had come in contact with Nakata, and it wasn't clear if any of them were going to be important because they're just kind of there and then they're gone. But Hoshino,
and he sticks around out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, he's a great character. Yeah.
yeah, he seems like a really cool dude. And I really relate to him, just like, okay, I have to finish the work that my master has done. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. If I just fart around for a bit, I know it'll come to me.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. No, I think it's so. I think Oshima and Hoshino are my favorite. Hoshino's his name, right?
Yeah, Hoshino.
They're my two favorite characters of the book. Honestly, I think they're much more interesting than Kafka and Nagata. To be honest with you.
I really like Nagata. Nagata's got to be my favorite out of all of them, but Hoshino is. I think I just like the whole story arc there much better.
Well, I will say Oshima is my favorite character in the book.
Mhm.
I think that character is just so cool,
Mm.
and also subtle. I mean, I didn't hear.
Oh, the simple fact that they introduce that he's basically a trans man, and then it just doesn't really come up.
I know, and I looked up. This book was written like I think like either early 2000s or like late 90s, and I was like,
Mm.
dude, if they wrote this book today, they would have been like immediately like Oshima, a trans man walks, you know, and it's like
Yes.
it was just sort of like it didn't matter.
Mm. Oshima transes in and corrects somebody for.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have fiction and nonfiction here. Fiction, literature is a spectrum. Okay.
Right, yeah. Yeah. They would have made a huge deal out of which bathroom he used. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Actually, the biggest thing they make note of is when those two uppity bitches come in and start complaining about the.
I know, and then he fucking slam dunks them, doesn't he?
As so, all right, this is a weird thing. I will admit is that knowing this book is originally from Japan. When I originally read that scene, even though knowing it was all Japan, all the people are Japanese, I pictured two white ladies walking in.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, that trope is a real thing in America because I mean it's a real thing in America. Oh, clip against sweat stains.
That's okay. I do too.
But yeah, no, I could totally see that. I could totally see that. I mean, you'll see them. I work at a customer service place where a lot of families come in, and you see them come in, you know who you're gonna have a problem with right off the bat. You know who you're gonna have a problem with right off the fucking bat.
Okay.
Actually, can I tell you a story real quick?
Always.
Real quick?
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, I had a fucking Karen lady come yell at me.
I am so thankful for the term Karen. We needed that term.
So yeah, I mean it's perfect. But so she came in and she was yelling at me, or she asked me if we validated parking, and I was like, oh, we actually don't. And she thought that she handed me her stub, but I did. She didn't hand me anything. And she walked away. And then 20 minutes later, she comes back up to me. She starts yelling. She's like, dude, where's my ticket? Where's my parking ticket? Where's my parking ticket? And I was like, excuse me? And she was like, I gave you my ticket. And you didn't give it back. And I was like, I didn't take anything from you. If you lost it, I can help you look for it. Like, that's not a problem. Like, I'll come around and, and I'm helping her look for it. And she's yelling. She's like, how am I supposed to get my car back? How am I supposed to get my car back? Like, you're not the first person to lose your ticket. Clearly, you're not from the city because you're fucking freaking out about this. Like,
well, see, that just a brief interjection. That is one of the thing with Karens is that they believe in this authority so much. That's why they're willing to wield it. Because I would think just myself, just like, oh, I lost my ticket. Like, I'll figure it out. But she's clearly coming this from a thing of like, I'll never get my car back and my children are going to die in this parking lot.
Yeah.
Because that's the authority structure.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't take your ticket. And my manager was there and she was like, yeah, you didn't take your ticket. You're good. Like, and I was like, okay, back, because I have fucking ADHD. So I was like, maybe I did take it and I didn't realize it. Fucking, then her friend starts walking back over and she's like, that's the guy right there. I took your ticket. That's the guy. And they're like making a fucking scene. Right. And I was like, I don't have it. I'll keep looking. Like, oh, I was starting to doubt myself. They pull it out of their pocket. And rather than apologize or anything, they just disengage and walk away like robots, right? Didn't even say sorry. I was like, what the fuck? But then 2 hours later, right, lady comes back up to the front desk and she tries to act as if none of this ever happened. And she's like, hey, did anybody leave reading glasses here? I lost my reading glasses. And I was like, give me a second. I'll check. And I go in the back and I see this pair of reading glasses sitting right there. And I come back out and I go, nope. Haven't seen them. That's
Good.
front desk justice, bitch. That's why you gotta be nice to people. Go buy some new reading glasses, you old fucking cow.
Info desk justice is
Dude,
so
satisfying.
beautiful. Okay. So Hoshino tries talking to the entrance stone, telling it stories about girls he's dated, because the fucking entrance stone likes hearing old pussy tales. In the afternoon, he puts on the Archduke Trio, telling the stone he feels like the song is speaking to him. I need to look into that more and figure out what the fuck it is about that song.
There's a ton of music that's mentioned throughout this book that, like, I almost want. I'm pretty sure there has to be a Spotify playlist of all the songs mentioned.
What did you think of my rendition of Kafka on the Shore, since you listened to my episodes?
Which one was that? Was that the?
I think that was episode 3. It's the piano thing that opens it.
I liked all the ones you did. I liked the cat one, and I liked the I did like that. I think that was the one before Dan Ostrov's episode, right?
Yes.
I remember being like, oh yeah, that's that song. I like that. Yeah, I was into it.
You know what was funny? I looked up a few people recorded renditions of that song, and despite the fact the book very clearly says it's played on piano, and none of the versions I found were played on piano.
Yeah,
fucking people.
That detail. Yeah.
One of my favorite things in the whole fucking book. So he puts on the Archduke Trio, telling the stone he feels like the song is speaking to him. A black cat jumps onto the windowsill, and Hoshino comments to the cat that it's a nice day. And the cat fucking says, like, yeah, it is a nice day. So now he can talk to cats. I loved that twist so much.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love that too. I love all the conversations with the cats are interesting because I think
I like how there's the one shitty cat that just beats the shit out of a special one.
Oh yeah, they're just like, yeah, well, he's just a fucking asshole. Yeah, I was a big fan of the way the cats spoke in this book, where I was like, this feels very much like I've seen people do takes on this before, but this felt like, oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense. This seems like how they would actually fucking talk. If they talk.
Well, the question I had was, if you could talk to a cat, your cat, what would you ask it?
I'd be like, yo, do you not see that I fucking have this specialized water bowl that I paid for, where it's a fucking stream of water? Because this bitch always wants to go in the shower, and it's a problem. Like 5 a.m. she'll wake me up because she wants to go in the shower. I'll be like, what's wrong with you? You know I'm taking care of you, right?
I would love to ask. You know, it's funny. It's our cat, but she is in love with my fiance. I would love to ask our cat, do you actually think she's your mother? Because she acts like it.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
Also, all of my animals she just said yes from the other room. All my pets have been fucking weird. Are you talking to me? Never mind. All my pets have been acting so.
Which one, the cat or your?
Well, that's the thing. They've all. Well, you got keep in mind. I have the 2 rabbits too.
Oh yeah, the 2
dude.
rabbits, right?
Last night, like.
I didn't mean pet. I meant which one was talking to you. That was what.
It's the. Good point.
Yeah.
So last night, the cat is like, we have this closet door that like doesn't really go anywhere. It's a little cubby. The cat is never near there, and it's looking underneath the door trying to see something there, and both my rabbits are on opposite sides of the room, and they're thumping, which, like, what they'll do is they'll just stomp their foot down, and it means they're trying to get your attention. But for the first time ever, they're going like back and forth, and both their ears are like at attention, like there's a predator nearby. There had to be a fucking ghost in the house. They were all acting so strange all at once.
Yeah, that would be terrifying if you could talk to your cat and they're like, by the way, ghosts are real. I see them all the time. Like, fuck. You'd be like, yeah, Be like, hey, what's your favorite part of living in this apartment with me? Oh, your dead great aunt that sits on the couch all the time. Like that would be so fucking
Yep.
scary. Ugh. Gave me chills just thinking about it. Although she's
Same.
hanging out. God bless. Love her to death.
Yeah, I would hope a closer family member than a great aunt. Then again, you know what? The afterlife's long. Eventually, you'll be like, let's see what my brother's friend is up to. I don't know.
I just happened to. I was very close to my great aunt. It was weird. I was closer to her than my grandma. It was a weird
No,
thing. Yeah. But
that's cool. Sometimes you get a shitty grandma and a good great aunt. It happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And she would always my grandma would always say mean shit to her. I remember I came in halfway through a conversation they were having one Christmas. I don't know what the context was, but my grandma was like, you know, she doesn't know what a lesbian is. And I was like, all right, okay, cool.
Wow. To be there, a fly on the wall for the beginning of that conversation.
Exactly, right. Yeah, exactly.
I saw a lady with a very short haircut. What was
what's going on? Yeah, exactly.
So one of the weird, only the second one that isn't numbered, the Boy Named Crow chapter. The boy named Crow encounters Johnny Walker. The man tells him that he makes flutes out of the souls of cats, and he's traveling to where he can make the biggest flute of all. He says that the forest where they are now is like limbo. The man has died and is now a soul in transition. It's impossible for Crow to hurt him, he says, but invites Crow to try. Crow pecks out the man's eyes, but he just laughs. Crow rips out his tongue, and he continues to laugh, now soundlessly. The wheezing sounds almost like a flute. What the fuck do you think is happening here?
Dude, I honestly forgot about that scene until you just brought that up. I don't know what the fuck's going on here because the thing is like
they get way more in detail than that. He tears him to fucking shreds while he just laughs.
Yeah, I don't know if Murakami knows what's going on in some of these scenes, to be honest with you. I think I kind of was the whole Crow thing did nothing for me in this book. It kind of felt like
oh, that was the other theory I had. Maybe Crow was like the spirit of Nakata that got away. Maybe. I don't know. There's such a time span that fucks everything up.
Yeah, I think, and the problem is, I mean, you texted me. This is the last episode, right? Like you're done.
This is the last one. We're done.
Spoiler. You texted me and you were like, "Well, I hope this ending brings it all together." And I was like, "Ha!" He leaves it all ambiguous. You know?
I think it does enough. There's at least some semblance of closure, even if you don't understand everything that happened. I mean, second look at that.
There is something ends, but you're like, I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to get the answers.
Yeah. Chapter 47. In the morning, the young version of Miss Psyche comes and makes Kafka breakfast. She tells him soon he'll become a part of this place. She also says that she has no memories. At midday, the middle-aged version of Miss Psyche arrives and sits with Kafka for a cup of tea. So the 15-year-old version leaves, and then the old version shows up. She tells him that she burned up all her memories, so she won't be able to talk for long. She tells Kafka that it's important that he leaves from the valley. He asks again if she's his mother. She responds only that she once abandoned someone she shouldn't have, and asks if Kafka can forgive her. He forgives her, and in his head forgives his mother, and feels as if a frozen part of his heart has crumbled. Miss Psyche pricks her arm with a hairpin and lets Kafka drink some of her blood, then leaves the cabin, which, again, I guess is a very mother, drinking the milk, even though it's blood.
Yeah.
You never drank your mother's blood? You're missing out. Come on.
No, never.
That's why I have high.
Not yet, at least.
That's why I have high. That's why I have high iron levels. Kafka walks out to the forest where the two soldiers are waiting. They tell him the entrance is open and to follow them quickly, not looking back. Somehow Kafka stumbles back through the woods to Oshima's cabin. Feeling as if waves are overcoming his mind, he slips into sleep. Seamus, do you have a place you were tempted to stay forever?
Not really, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm almost stuck in Philadelphia. Tempted to stay forever. You know what? I'll say this. I was tempted to stay in a relationship forever.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that I'm sort of the person. I've never broken up with anybody. I've only been on the receiving end of well, I mean, maybe arguably I have. I've stopped talking to people, but no, I feel like I was just sort of set and ready to be like, I'll just stay here forever. I just won't move. And I feel like the same way about all throughout grade school. I remember being like, I should probably go to a different school, so I'm not going to the school my mom goes to, or whatever. But I do find myself, it takes a lot sometimes to motivate me to move. Like for me, like stand up was like the first thing I'd ever done that I felt like I pushed myself to do that I didn't have to do. You know what I mean? And it was like this thing of like for me, just like the motivation is hard to come by sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. I mean, shit, my longest relationship I was ever in, including the one I'm in now, was I was on and off for like 8 years. And, she had health problems and was not going to have an easy life. But I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'm an idiot. I'll stay and sacrifice my happiness for you. Good Catholic boy shit. And thank God, it's that weird shit where it's like, I will stay with you forever, but I'm not going to be a pushover. I'm still going to go live my life. And they decided they wanted to push over more. So I got cut free and I met the woman of my dreams. And now I'm getting fucking married in 2 days.
Yeah.
And my life would have sucked.
It was also hard for me to. I had a lot of anxiety about moving out initially
Mm,
when I lived at my mom's house because it was just me and her growing up. So like we did have this like close relationship, and
yeah.
I almost felt like there was like a mutual dependency there that probably wasn't that healthy. But I remember like when my girlfriend was like, "Hey, come move in with me." I was like, "Shit, if I don't do this, I'm gonna fucking regret it." So it was like almost a thing of like, I only move when the train is coming right at me. You know what I mean? Like,
Daredevil.
exactly, yeah.
All right, chapter 48 coming to a close here. The black cat named Toro offers to help Hoshino with the stone. And there's a whole thing where Toro is named after like the fattiest part of the tuna, and his owner is a tuna sushi guy and feeds the cat very well. It seems like a really good life for a cat.
Yeah. Oh, is that why the fish are falling from the sky, do you think? To feed the cats? I had no idea what the fuck was
It
going on with
must
that.
be some relation, but then how the fuck do you explain leeches other than he wants to hurt
Right.
the people beating up that guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Toro offers to help Hoshino with the stone. Toro says that Hoshino will need to kill something that's trying to get through the entrance. He can't describe it, but Hoshino will know it when he sees it. Late at night, he hears a rustling coming from Nakata's body in the other room. A long, pale, thin, white object is emanating from Nakata's mouth. It's as thick around as Hoshino's arm and glistening. Hoshino tries over and over again to stab the creature, but it immediately heals each time. That note's actually a little wrong. It's like the form like just kind of moves around it and then like returns to shape whenever he pulls it away.
Hmm.
Panicked, Hoshino realizes that he must close the entrance stone before the thing can slither over. It has once again become impossibly heavy, and Hoshino strains every muscle in his body to flip it over, but finally succeeds. After the stone is closed, it's fairly easy to dispatch the creature. Hoshino, I think, actually picks up the stone and crushes it with it. Hoshino then cuts it into small pieces and bags them up. He realizes it's time to go home. In a way, Nakata will live on through him because he knows that from now on, he will try to see things from Nakata's perspective. He's almost a container for Nakata's soul. Hoshino leaves the apartment. What the fuck do you think just happened here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what the fuck? I don't know. Well, it's weird because it almost seems sort of like a spiritual, non-physical thing at first, but it's climbing out of him. But then he cuts it up and puts it in the bags. And doesn't he like burn the bags or something? Or he disposes of them somehow, doesn't he?
I think he plans to, but he doesn't actually.
Yeah, but it's weird that it's like a physical fucking thing that came out of this guy. I have no fucking clue. Like it to me,
It seems like it had to be Johnny Walker trying to re enter and become something else. I don't
yeah,
know
is
how
that what
Mr.
Johnny Walker was?
Yeah, I don't know how what Mr. Nakata's mouth became the portal to that other world, but
Right. Yeah, or like yeah, it's just so like I think the episode you did with the drunk guy book club
mm,
guys, they kind of nailed it. I think when they were like, you finished reading it and you're like, I really enjoyed reading all that, but I don't know what the fuck I just read. Like that's kind of
yeah.
how I felt, where I was like, I just kind of at a certain point just kind of gave into it and was just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's cool. That's a cool ending, I guess. But like, what? Yeah.
Struck
What
me
do
as
you think
very,
happened?
very, very Cronenberg, like
Yeah.
body horror.
Yeah.
I think it had to be somehow the spirit of Johnny Walker making it from one way to the next. I almost wonder if Crow was not destroying Johnny Walker out of malice, but maybe like that was just his part to play. He had to tear him apart to
Right.
free him from limbo where he could escape again. It would. I'm almost one. I want to look back and check. Like, did fucking Nakata eat something at some point? Something symbolic
Mm.
that
Yeah. Cause I think
the mouth is just so weird.
I think you nailed it where you almost said like Crow was just kind of playing his part because I kind of get that sense throughout most of this where it almost up front address it, but it does feel like a lot of this stuff is fate. There's a lot of
Yes.
well, it is. He actually does address it because there's Kafka is like fated to do all this Oedipus stuff, and
Mm.
then Nakata is fated to do all this other shit, and Johnny Walker's like, you have to kill me, and all this stuff. So maybe there's like there's definitely this impression that there's some sort of game afoot that we are not aware of, and maybe none of the
Mhm.
characters are either too. Like things are just playing out in sort of a like the physics of whatever the fuck is going on is beyond
Yeah.
our understanding.
I want to figure out what the fuck was up with the flute. Like I was waiting for a better payoff on the soul
Yeah.
flute.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with the soul flute, man. Yeah, I don't know. That scene was so scary. That's the fucking
Yeah.
when he's ripping the cat's heart out. I remember I was reading this book next to my girlfriend. I got to that scene, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Can I explain this to you?" I think I got really drunk. One time, I think I got really drunk and explained this book to her for an hour, and she was like, "All right, you can stop."
Ugh. All right. Final chapter. 49. To Kafka's surprise, it is Oshima's brother who picks him up from the cabin. Again, very random. We've heard about this guy Sada the whole book, and now he's just here, doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Okay. On the drive back, Kafka says he wandered into the woods, even though Oshima warned him not to. Oshima's brother said that he once did the same, but they both agree that it would be impossible to express what had happened to them out loud. And Oshima's brother pretty much says, like, oh, yeah, I was trying to do this whole thing with my life. And then the forest thing happened. And that's when he said, fuck this, and just became a surfer. And, which, by the way, I was picturing Sada as Shinsuke Nakamura because I know he's a big surfer guy. That's the WWE wrestler.
I didn't know that. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, he has pretty much said like, no, the only reason I am still with WWE is because I get to live in Florida and have great surf weather. That's pretty much it.
I do think I do like this scene where it's just like a nice relaxing ending almost where the
Yeah.
surfer guy picks him up, because I feel like for me growing up I had a lot of anxiety about travel and stuff like the fucking not I've been alluding to this throughout this podcast, but like my parents got divorced when I was like 3 or 4, so I almost always felt like I was kind of split between worlds almost, where like I have this one life and then I go to my dad's and there's a completely different rule set.
Yep.
And it's just it's really scary for a kid, and it's kind of overwhelming. And I remember the feeling of like after trips or my dad dropping me back off to my mom's house was like this, like, oh, I've been tense all weekend, and you finally get to just be like, it's over, and there's nothing. Maybe that's what like dying is like, man, where you're just like, I'm just going home, man, it's all right. Like it's the best feeling in the fucking world, where you've gone through something potentially traumatic, and then you're like, the surfer guy's here to pick me up.
Dying is like going on a walk and suddenly getting like horrible stomach pains, and then you just shit and you're free.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the closest to relaxation as I've ever gotten.
Yeah, well, shit's great, man.
Yeah. Back at the library, Oshima tells Kafka that Miss Psyche died of a heart attack. He says he believed it was predestined, as did Miss Psyche. Kafka says it's time for him to face the police and return to school in Tokyo. The two say goodbye, promising to meet again someday. At the train station, Kafka calls Sakura to tell her he's going home. She tells him she had a dream about him, which was distinctly not rapey, but he was wandering around in a labyrinth-like house. When they say goodbye, Kafka calls her sister. On the train, Kafka... Why did she jerk him off? Did we ever get that?
I was just thinking that, because she goes, "Wouldn't it be great if I was your sister?" After she like fucking jerks him off.
Yeah,
And then he's like, "Bye, sister." I don't know. Maybe they're just into that shit.
maybe.
He's like, I was stuck in the dryer."
Oh, dude, the funniest meme I saw. You remember when that boat was stuck in the Suez Canal?
Yeah.
There was just a 2-panel meme, and it was just the boat, like, oh, I'm stuck, and then it's a tugboat on the back, like, step boat, what are you doing? Like, oh my god, guys, look up stuck porn. It's here's the thing, I get it, but it's how is it not rapey?
It's look, I don't know. Porn is getting weirder and weirder, man. It feels like you know how in the beginning of the internet there were all these interesting websites you would go to, and now I feel like people just use like Instagram, Facebook, and like it's been homogenized into like just specific apps. I feel like porn is doing the same thing, where it used to be like all these different things, and now it's just like everything is stepbrother porn, and everything is like it's all gonna be, I'm stuck in this stepbrother, because the algorithms have just figured out like No, this is the thing. Like,
Oh yeah, but also that's the other thing with the internet is I remember somebody making this analogy about music where like pretty much if the internet exists in the 70s, like a band like Led Zeppelin probably isn't huge. That's just like the closest thing to everyone's taste that's widely available. But now you can like it's why bands in general aren't as big because now nobody's going to waste their time on a band they're just kind of into when they can find five bands that like, tickle their balls and lick their ear.
Right,
Like
right.
it hits every aspect of it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, in porn, particularly as the world keeps changing, there's going to be more and more circumstances that, I mean, I think getting stuck is a universal thing. We never thought.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what they need to do? They should make a gay porn of 127 hours. That dude who got his arms stuck, and then the big finale could be fucking blowing a guy with the hook. Just-
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's so funny, man. It's like, yeah, that is like that's the synchronicity as the AI just figures out like human beings just love this one genre, this one hyper specific fucking porn genre. You're
Dude,
done.
I can't wait to see the future of porn. I want to see like what's going to be the porn trends when I'm 80.
Dude, the problem is the generation after Gen Z is going to be so fucking alt right because of how all fucked up everyone's going to be on porn that like it's going to be banned. It's going to
Yep.
be banned. There's not going to be a future. These fucking tweens are going to come out like we have to take this away from you, you fucking degenerates.
I mean, if you ever wandered to 4chan, I mean, that's
Yeah.
more or less they're doing that, but they're also degenerates.
Just a 90-year-old being like, let me tell you about the TikTok death camps. Like, we're all just doing fucking
Oh god, yeah, just lip syncing their way into forced labor. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly.
God. On the train, Kafka thinks about Miss Psyche and everything that has happened to him. Crow tells him he did the right thing, even though he can't escape time. He has a lot to learn about the world. He's still the toughest 15-year-old in the world. Crow tells him to get some sleep, and he does. The end. Yeah,
There you go. You made it through, man. What do you think?
I made it through. I very much enjoyed the journey. I even liked how we were dropped into it. We found like just enough that we needed to. I wish we had got to see a little bit like they drop in there like, oh, Kafka's dad was abusive. I wish we could have seen a little bit of that. It's like
Yeah.
barely hinted at. As a matter of fact, like Johnny Walker dies and we don't find his relation until a few chapters later where it's like, oh, that was Kafka's dad. What?
Yeah, that's kind of confusing too. Like maybe that. I mean, but the Johnny Walker scene is really abusive, and then he dies, and then it's somehow Kafka's father. So maybe that's sort of a hint as to the type of abuse. Maybe he was just like,
Well, I mean, he did.
guy.
It's definitely abusive to say like, "Hey, son, how you doing? You're gonna fuck your your mom and sister
Yeah.
Sunday. What's for
Yeah,
breakfast?"
like, what the fuck? Yeah, like what the fuck, dude? Yeah, I don't know. That's such a weird thing. That I don't know. Yeah, you should play. Have you ever heard of What Remains of Edith Finch?
No.
It's a video game. I highly recommend it. It's like one of those like you just kind of walk through and experience the story, but it involves it's a similar thing about like a family curse that this grandma keeps pushing this like this is a real thing, and at one point the mother, so like the grandmother's daughter, is like, hey, can you fucking stop telling my kids that we're all gonna die horribly because of a family fucking curse? Like, can you fucking let that go?
Wow.
It's really interesting, man.
You know what's funny? We had a second cousin in my family who he wasn't in a Christian cult, but he believes some Christian cult shit. And like when my cousin Ashley was like, pretty much my cousin Ashley was like 8 years old, and he asked like, "Oh, when's your birthday?" She's like, "Oh, it's this date." He said like, "Oh, that's the day the world's gonna end. That's the day Jesus is gonna come back, and maybe you'll get raptured away, or maybe you have to stay here and fight the devil. Happy birthday, either way." And then we need to just like, Billy, fucking don't, you dumb asshole.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like, also, The Rock's my uncle, and I have a PlayStation 6. Like, all right,
Ooh.
cool.
I have some quotes from the book here. They were good. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain: when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what this storm's all about. But there's good lines like this in there, but it doesn't actually like stick with me. I had to go look them up. Like I can't even tell you what part of the book that's from.
No, me either. I've heard that quote as well. Because initially, the reason I picked up this book in the first place was because of I think it was like a TEDx.
Mm.
Like they do these videos on like why you should read certain books, and they use that quote, but I don't remember reading that in the book at all.
Yeah. This one's a short one. If you remember me, then I don't care if everyone else forgets. Nice. Ugh. Uh, Lost opportunities, lost possibilities, feelings we can never get back. That's part of what it means to be alive. But inside our heads, there's a little room where we store those memories. A room like the stacks in this library. And to understand the workings of our own heart, we have to keep on making new reference cards. We have to dust things off every once in a while, let in fresh air, change the water in the flower vases. In other words, you'll live forever in your own private library. That's a little jerk offish.
I feel like a lot of these. I don't know if it's the translation, but like I know you fucking can't stand anime, but a lot of these remind me of like the fucking. I'm not a big anime guy either, but the fucking like when a guy is so outmatched, but then somehow the power of friendship fucking
Yeah.
saves him. You know, it's like all right, this is fucking.
I have tapped into the library within, and now I
Yeah.
will fucking electrocute you,
Yeah,
dematerialize you.
yeah.
And then
My tears will revive my teammates or whatever the fuck. Shut up.
yeah. And then a bunch of our 27-year-old friends clap and continue living in their one bedroom apartment with 8 people. I love our friends. I just want them to be better. My goal is I want to start like the Philly Comedy Book Club, and it's just me abusing people who can't read, apparently.
Dude, I mean, I get it. Like people have their things. Like I'm into I have a Pokemon Snap is coming tomorrow. I'm gonna play Pokemon Snap, but I also understand that I'm 30 years old and that's kind of embarrassing. But I'm
Yes.
still gonna do it because I like it. But I
That,
get it. I
and
get it.
that's it. It's just have the decency to feel a little bit bad about yourself. I know,
Yeah,
I
have a
know it's a
little
Catholic.
shame.
Yes,
Yeah.
a little shame is good. A little shame is what keeps me from not just like sticking my dick out the window and seeing what the breeze feels like. I'm sure it'd feel great, but I'm an adult and I can't do that.
Right, right, right.
One final quote. Every one of us is losing something precious to us. Lost opportunities, lost possibilities, feelings we can never get back again. That's part of what it means to be alive. Again, this is kind of like, fucking inspirational quotes 101, but
Yeah.
they're nice.
They're nice, yeah.
So I like the story overall. I still think a lot of people compared him to Vonnegut. I feel like Vonnegut is infinitely more quotable, but I did like the story.
Yeah, and I think Vonnegut is also much more decipherable, to be honest with you, more coherent.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that I because I like I said I read fucking Wind Up Bird Chronicle, and even I think I like that book way more than this one actually, and I
Mm-hmm.
felt like the protagonist in that book, I have never identified more with a protagonist in my fucking life, dude. Which I don't know what that says about me, but that book was really interesting. But again, like kind of indecipherable. I think these books are. I think his writing is it. There's moments, there's scenes that stick with you rather than the overarching story necessarily.
Right, right. Like in this, I will remember. I will remember the Rice Bowl Hill incident. I'll remember the Johnny Walker scene. I'll remember the Kafka on the Shore song. I'll remember Nakata talking to the cats. But like the overall story, like Kafka dicks around the library and then goes to the country and then fucks his mom and his sister jerks him off. Like that's, I'll remember it, but I'm not gung ho about it.
I don't know where I pulled the picture of the library in my mind, but it's such a unique library because it's like not a regular library. It's a weird library, isn't it? It's like a
Yeah.
random fucking library and like just something so quaint
It's
and
a,
nice
it's not
about it.
it's not a library per se. It's the library of like some rich famous dickhead died
Yeah.
and gave us all his books.
But all of us want to just run away and move to a small town where we get a job immediately in
Mm-hmm.
like a quiet fucking,
And no,
it
yeah,
sounds great.
you come in, you get a job immediately. Strangers take you in. Your sister jerks you off. And you're fine.
Yeah, you're just hanging out with your trans buddy. He doesn't make a big deal out of it. It
Eh,
doesn't fucking matter.
and that is why the book is fiction. I feel like a dickhead. I feel like a dickhead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But it's I don't know who listens to this podcast.
That's
I think
hilarious.
they must know I'm a monster by
That's
now.
hilarious.
You know what's funny? I actually sent a message the other night to I better give this some real context. Uh the first trans person I ever met, I did not get along with very well because I will say they because they were kind of in between when I met them. They were dating a girl that I was in the process of stealing away from them.
Mm.
And then that girl proceeded to date one of us and then cheat on the other for about 6 months, and me and this person got very close to murdering each other a few times.
Damn.
We buried the hatchet, but that was years ago. And I've been thinking lately, like, you know what? I said some shit. This is over 10 years ago. Like, I said some shit to this person. I want to send them a letter and be like, hey, listen, you and I didn't like each other for very good reasons, but I said some things, especially to hurt you because of that situation, that really weren't cool as far as the trans thing.
Yeah, well, you know what? Isn't it crazy how relationships can make you feel that way? Like you guys thought you hated, you probably got if that person had not been around, you probably would have gotten along just fine. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah, that's like we both wanted to fuck this super cute goth chick. Like,
yeah,
why wouldn't we fight?
yeah. Well, I mean, don't beat yourself up too much. I mean, life is about growth and changing, and we all fucking whatever. We're all gonna get canceled eventually.
That's why I just push my shit out to the front, dude. That fucking asshole who tried to cancel me before popped up into my life again this week. That fucking remember
Tell me
the
off mic because I don't know who this is.
oh, I'll tell you. Remember the fake Jewish person that we used to make fun of?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
That fucking loser poked his head in again. Fuck that guy. We could talk about that off mic. It's actually not that big. Just fuck that loser. Okay.
Yeah, so Kafka on the Shore, man. I wish there was like a better way to just like cap it off, but I feel like you could probably just end your podcast the same way Murakami ends his books, of just being like, "You take what you want from it."
That's right, guys. You take what you want from it. Yeah, I don't have anything. It's really hot. I've lost a lot of fluids during this podcast.
Me too. I need water.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Seamus, thank you as always for coming on. Thank you for introducing me to this book. I had never read Murakami, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, if you dip back in, if you do like Wind Up Bird Chronicle or something, let me know, because that shit is fucking. If you just read it in your personal life, let me know, because that shit's crazy.
Definitely, yeah, I'll do that, and I'll read it with you. All right, I'm gonna end this podcast like I end every podcast. I'm going to stop recording, but you and I can keep talking for a second. Cool. See ya. All right, so about this asshole fake Jewish piece of shit.